Hey, are we on? This is
We
it,
are.
podcast people. Um, Guys, we are in two separate places today. Josh and Rose have been divided by geography because one of our
Unbelievable.
kids is not feeling good. We won't tell you that that's because of anything church related, but one of our kids might be down with a concussion right now. Or just a bad head. Who knows? But that means that we get to record this podcast with the help of incredible technology, making us two separate households in one screen. Hey, Josh.
Hello.
Hello. We're going to jump into a conversation about something that is in all of our conversations right now in our church, because it's something very current, something that we're starting this weekend. It is kicking off, or actually already has kicked off, right? The last couple of days, some challenges have gone out to a
Hmm.
particular portion of our church, particular community in our church. It is a community that Josh knows very well, because he belongs to this community, but he has grown up his whole life surrounded by that community, and this is the men of the church. I want to talk about the men of the church
Let's
and
go,
the vital
barbarians.
role that they hold. It's a vital, vital role that men hold in community, in families, in friendships. Like, we want to celebrate the men in our church and really champion them and see them become all that God has for them to become. But we're doing something very special for the second time this year in Freedom Raleigh, which is the Barbarian Way. And it has been transformative. It has been so incredible for so many people who got to access it last year. Um, so we're going to talk a little bit about the Barbarian Way, but we're also going to talk about men and men in church and the vision for men in church and some things that we have seen go right and go wrong
Yeah.
in men's life and relationship with the church. Is something that we care a lot about. And so we thought it'd be really great to have a conversation about it. So, Josh, why don't you kick us off with explaining what is the Barbarian Way?
Okay. The Barbarian Way is built off something that we have been running in our church for it's 20 years this year. 2006, we started. And it was this immense, amazing time that my dad, who was the senior pastor of our church that we were growing up at, he would gather us together as young men. And it all started because a good friend, a mutual friend of ours, his name was Johnny. He's just said to my dad one time, I want you to mentor me and speak into my life as a young man. And so my dad started doing that. And it was so fruitful and good. He thought, hold on, I should be doing this with a bunch of these guys. And so then he called us together and he called it the Barbarians. And then we just went around the room that night. He said, what do you think, if I say the word barbarian, what do you think that means for being like a Christian man? Like, what does it mean to be a barbarian for Christ? And I remember that first conversation, just talking about it, and it was like, this is something different. There was 12 of us young men there. We were on fire for Jesus, and it became our favorite night of the week. We were taught there'd be teaching, prayer, challenge, accountability. There would be worship. It was so awesome. Everything stripped back, a passionate time together. Um, and it was very real, raw, and honest. And there is something about, as a man, sometimes you just want to like cut through to the real stuff. It's like cut the fluff and let's just say it how it is. And that's what these nights were like every week. Right. Fast forward all these years later, we plant a church here in Raleigh. And I'm like, well, of course, Barbarians is going to be a part of our ministry here. So we started doing monthly gatherings and we have some amazing, incredible times. And we like meet with God in those meetings once a month. We get on our knees and we worship God together. We get some profound input and teaching. And Barbarians was always meant to be very different from like a normal ministry, like men's ministry, where it's like, you might have seen, oh, they're going for men's breakfast, or in the UK we used to have men's curry night,
Yeah,
and it's like
curry.
they would do it every few months, and the guys didn't really want to go, but maybe they'd been encouraged to by their wives, and they go and have a bit of chit chat about, I remember a lot of these events. They used to have like cars there, and sort of, oh yeah, men like talking about cars. And it's like, Barbarians, we've never done anything like that, really. It's like we always wanted to like, let's be as on fire for Jesus as we can. So it's hard to do that with a bowl of curry in your hand. And we So we then started doing that week monthly here. It was brilliant, really good. But there was something in me which was like I knew that there was more for us. And I actually went to another church about a year and a half ago, and I heard about their men's ministry, and it was so similar to what we do as Freedom Church in heart, but it had a slightly different setup. It had this kind of beginning and end, and I was like, right, that is the format of what I want to do with Barbarians. We've got the heart, we've got the passion, we've got a lot of the raw ingredients. We just needed a different system and structure. So we put Barbarian Way together, inspired by some of what we heard, which is a 4-month program where we come together as men and we have large group gatherings once a month where we all collectively get together and we have worship, a teaching. We also just hang out as well and just build relationally. So that'd be really cool. And then on the alternate other day weeks of the month, we do these things called Fire Pit 5, where we're broken down into really small groups of 5, and we sit around a fire if it's not too hot in the Carolina summer, and we talk and we have real conversations, and we again just cut to the heart of some things, get real on some things, some honest accountability, some brotherhood conversations, sharing where our lives are at. It's awesome. But we also, along with all that, we have a monthly challenge. So the guys have got some kind of engagement every day that they need to be doing it the Barbarian Way. And so this first month is the first challenge. So we just started it. And it's to read the New Testament in 30 days together as a group of men. So it is transformative as you get men who, some of which have never read the Bible before, really. Maybe they've read a few verses, and now they're reading 8 chapters a day. They are eating the word. They got to get up at 6 in the morning and do an hour before they go to work. It's so good. We love it. We're just about to go on the camp, which is like our kickoff camp this weekend, and I'm pumped.
So good. I think you just mentioned like Barbarians obviously used to be regular meeting right the way through the year, and you've decided to create this moment in the year, this 4 months that's much more intensive. But why do you think that's appealing? Like, why did you decide to pivot the structure that way? Because, there was something that was happening all year long before, but maybe didn't have the same momentum as what you're doing now. Why the change?
Yeah. Yes, there's something that appeals to men, I think, about setting yourself specific time period challenges. Not all men are like this, but I think a lot of us are, which is like, right, I want to commit myself to X number of days and go all in on something. And uh, I I get advertised these kind of things on my social media all the time, where a advert will come and say, "We need 30 men for 6 weeks to commit to this program." And that they're trying to sell you a product, but their point of sale, their appeal, is to try and leverage this mentality that men have, which is like, I know there's more in me than I'm seeing, and I know that I'm not going to get there by just making micro adjustments. I want to go big. I want to make some changes, and so we put the program together with this kind of challenge mentality, because there's lots of men who get to certain stages of their life and like they say, right, I need to sign up to an Ironman, or I need to do a marathon, or I need to do this, new program, or I'm going to get into jujitsu or something. Is like there's this desire in us to be like, I need to step up in some way. And potential is such an amazing thing until you feel it start to fall away. And then you're like, what was really exciting as potential within you? Or like, and you can put it off like year after year, but you start to get older maybe. And it's like, oh my gosh, that my chance of doing that is slipping away. And there's this urgency that comes. And so we want to leverage that desire in men and use it for the kingdom of God, to be like, we know that there's more in you. And so we want to call you to it. We want to do something. Because even like there's nothing stopping a guy, for example, from like, right, I just want to read the Bible, New
Yeah.
Testament 30 days, just do it yourself. Great, go for it. But what we found is that men just don't do that just unprompted. You might
No.
have your odd person, but when you set a parameter of like, we're doing this together, we're all going to be learning together. All of a sudden, it creates this buy-in where it's like we're unified, we can support each other, encourage each other, challenge each other in it. And there's something about us as men, we're made for that. We're made for that
Yeah.
camaraderie, brotherhood. And so we actually like gets the best out of us.
Yeah, it's really good. You mentioned that there's obviously you've got a scripture challenge, which is the whole New Testament for the first
Yeah.
month. Can you tell us what any of the other challenges are? Like what are the other things that you guys are going to be running at?
Yeah. So a big challenge that we do is like a fitness, like looking after your physical body. There's so much about being a Christ follower that is about personal discipline and about mastering yourself. And we were reading a book together last year, and it was talking about how um, that we're called to fight and battle as men. We're called to fight for the kingdom. We're called to fight for our families, our marriages. But the first battle you got to win is the one with yourself. And so what we're really just training within ourselves is to overcome self. And part of the ways that you can do that is through physical discipline, getting up, working through the pain, being consistent, doing it every day. And so we have a challenge where we focus a whole month on physical health. And then we finish at the end of that month with a race. And it's all built around carrying a sandbag.
Wow.
So the guys can choose what size of sandbag. We've got 3 different options, and they can also got 2 length options of the race, because we're aware some guys are like really good at keeping themselves fit and healthy. Other guys are like, this is not something they've thought about since they were at school, and it's like their health is not where it should be. So we trying to build it so it meets for everyone where they're at, but we take the sandbag, which is like almost representative of like picking up your cross and dying to yourself, and they have to carry it on their shoulders for either 5k, 5 kilometers or 10 kilometers. Yeah, they can take it's a I think it's £10, £20 or £30 sandbag.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a fun challenge, and it's so crazy because it's really not fun as in you're suffering, but also it also appeals to men to like do things like that, to suffer and stretch yourself and challenge yourself a bit. So we'll be doing that again this year.
I got to go and see the race last year and be a part of cheering all you guys on and seeing it happen, and it was really amazing because
Mhm.
anything like that, we all know it's true. Whenever you put yourself through something physically, the reward of not only getting through it, but getting through it together with other people is very unifying. It's
Yeah.
very, it's such a like a community and a unity builder. And no matter what each individual achieves, because they've pushed themselves, it just feels like such a breakthrough, such a like a moment where something has been conquered or overcome. And it was really amazing to watch it. I know a lot of us, as the friends and family, wives and girlfriends, just it was like actually like a moving thing to be part of,
Yeah.
seeing people smash through things that they previously wouldn't have done or hadn't even imagined themselves doing. It was a really cool thing. And
There was
honestly,
a lot of man flesh on display, there wasn't
there
there?
was a
I'm
lot
sorry
of
about
flash. That is
that.
undeniable.
It's like
One
all
of
these
the
guys, it was July, it was hot. We did it like
No,
9 in the
don't
morning or
give me that.
something.
Don't give me that. I have seen men gather together in the cold of winter and still need to remove clothing. So I don't think it was anything to do with the weather. I think that sometimes barbarians have just got to shed a layer or two if they can. I don't know what that's about, but if you insist
Yes.
on gathering around a fire pit in July, that is what's going to
Yeah.
happen.
That is going to
Um,
make you feel like you need to shed a layer for sure.
You guys, you love it. You wild. Um, One of the things that I think is just a constant in my life. So I've done church in the UK, done church in the US, been a part of different kinds of churches. One of the constants that I could reflect on is that I think every environment that I have been in has felt like it is a female heavy environment.
Mm,
And I think typically men don't necessarily always find it perhaps as easy to find a church community or have a faith conversation sometimes as the women in their life. What do you think it is about the church that doesn't always do the best job of engaging men? And, how do you want to see that change? Or what are some of the things that you see buck the trend of that, maybe through things like the Barbarian Way?
Yeah, I think it's really sad because there is almost like a bit of a void where uh, men have just not stepped into their like calling and place and position within churches, and often when we have prayer teams, intercession teams, they're mostly made up of women, and even our serve teams. I remember we had a serve team. We were praying for some of the leaders, our volunteer leaders, on a Sunday morning, and we said, right, all these new leaders come forward. We're going to lay on hands. We're going to pray for you. And as they stepped forward, it was like I think six of them, like they were all women, and I was like, where are the men? Like what's going on? And I think sometimes I think because women as well, like very consistent, they're organized, they're good at details, they're good at suggesting things. And I think sometimes men we're just happy to kind of like fill the gap, um, not always bring an opinion, but there is leadership within men and it needs calling out. And so one of the things that we've seen through doing Barbarian Way, seen a bunch of guys step into leadership roles in the church in the last 12 months. So it's not just like, oh, that was fun experience. It's actually transformed their ownership, their confidence, and their place within the church. And for me as a pastor, I just want balance. I don't want it to be like, oh, now the men are doing everything. I just want to
Right.
see that it's equated out through the church, that we are shouldering this together, that it's not just left to our women to be carrying the vision, but actually there is an equality there where it's like we're doing all of this together. We're raising up women leaders, we're raising up men leaders. And that's what we're starting to see already with this. So I'm excited for this round two that we're doing because we're not doing it like where, oh yeah, you've done the program and it's like you finished. It's like actually these are things that you need your whole life. You're always
Yeah.
going to need to like get into the word. You're always going to need to develop your prayer life. You're always going to need to like take care of your physical health. And so we're running it more like what I say is like a football season. It's like we had the off season, so we took a big break, and then it's like right, it's game time. And we've got the excitement again because it's like right, they had 8 months off, and now they're ready. They're like, come on, let's run it back. They're ready to go again. But if I think about the wider picture of like the overall church and where things are at across the world, I think what we need as the church is to meet men where they're at. It's to do things that are relevant to them, do things that is where there's masculinity that's expressed through the church, where it's not shamed, not everything is feminized, but
Yeah.
there's an expression of masculinity in our worship, in our preaching, in the way that we serve, that there's something, even the way that we present ourselves, that there is something that is appealing to men. And so I'm really passionate about the church leading in that and making sure that men find a place. Because otherwise, they find it somewhere else. They find it, at a football club, or they find it at they find it on the golf course. They find it at Hell's Angel, like a motorcycle group, whatever. Is that we kind of got this in us. It's the way God's made us, and yet, if we don't find our connection and group and community and tribe in the church, go find it elsewhere. And then you've
Yeah.
lost that connection and potential within that guy to his fullness. Or he doesn't find it somewhere and he just always feels a little bit like he's not really connected in the way that he knows he should be.
Yeah, come on. I think that it's a really refreshing thing to be a part of as well, because the truth is that there's not many environments where healthy masculinity is really celebrated and cultivated and even multiplied. And I would say that, like, from my perspective, um, I don't know that the world always has the highest view of men. And, there
True
are some
story.
said. There are some, jokes that are made about men are this or men are
100%.
that. And it's actually like it's not really. giving anybody any kind of inspiration or equipping to run beyond that statement. I think that the world seems to have a pretty negative view, even if you think about various things that have gone on in the world, and recent headlines. And I'm thinking about cultural hot topics that have to do particularly with like the manosphere and masculinity, and just a real misunderstanding of what men were called to be. It's so
Yeah.
great to see the church actually champion healthy manhood, release it, equip it, and then go ahead
Mm.
and ask everybody else to understand it better. I think it's been such a healthy thing. One of the things I love that you did is when you did the first kind of information night for Barbarian Way, it wasn't just for the guys, it was also for the women in their lives. Because I think it's really important for us to understand that it's not only a program for the men in our church, it is a program for our church. We all feel the benefit of it. We all get to see some of the fruit of it. We're all watching it happen in the men around us. And so, particularly as those of us who are connected to those guys, living in a household with those guys, whether it's wives, girlfriends, daughters, to be able to understand this is what the Barbarian Way is going to do, and this is why we're so excited about it. It gave it a much bigger vision than just a program. It was about
Yeah.
like, this is about seeing masculinity restored in the
Come
church.
on.
And it was powerful. It was a really great thing. I wanted to ask you, I think one of the things that you had mentioned earlier on was like somebody asked for a mentor. Somebody asked your
Mm.
dad, mentor me, will you speak into my life? What do you think is the importance of whether it's mentors or leaders or maybe even just peers to run alongside? What is the importance of that? Because we often want to feel like we're pretty self contained, or we can figure things out for ourselves. But actually this whole kind of developing men conversation, it did come out of that request for like somebody pour into me. What is the importance of having a mentor or a leader in your life?
100%. Oh, I love that question, because I just think about this, right? Is that if you have got the best tennis player in the world, they're like world number one, they don't go, I don't need a coach anymore. I'm
Right.
good. I'm actually the best in the world. There's literally not one human being on the planet that can beat me. They still have a coach. That coach has not performed as highly as them. That coach, could not compete with them on a court. And yet they still see the value of having someone speaking in to their game
Yeah.
and developing them and making them better. And I think it's the same for us as men. We need someone who can help speak into our life, that we're going to submit to, that we're going to be accountable to, that we can grow under. Because one of the things that the coach sees is like, hey, the way you're doing that swing, you're actually following through too much. And that's what's causing the shot to be mishit that time. And they can see things you can't see. It's the same for us in our lives. It's like, hey, do you realize that when you're in this situation, maybe you speak and you didn't realize it was coming out the way that you were speaking, but it's impacting the people around you. And actually getting people's input, it helps you grow. And just having the humility to that, it grows your character. So I think it's so good. It's so healthy to have mentors. I think particularly seasonally as well. It's like, right, let's get someone in and speak into my life. And, I even have someone who's speaking into me at the moment, and just like shaping me, shaping the church. Because I don't want to just be like, oh yeah, I've been doing this for years, I know what I'm doing. It's like, actually, I want to continue to learn, to grow, to submit, to be humble, to ask questions. There is something like of a godly nature where you practice those things. It's good for your soul and the way that you're going to maintain and grab hold of humility, because we can so easily get enamored with ourselves and think we're right about everything, and none of us
Yeah.
are. We have to hold on to
Yeah.
humility.
Agreed. And I think that um, there is just something of a lie that I think the world tells men, especially, which is that you should have it all together. You should know it all. You shouldn't, that there's some kind of weakness or failure in asking for input. But the truth is, we all have blind spots. Every single one of us has a way of being, speaking, doing things that actually could be improved, or just investigated somewhat. And I think that
Yeah.
that's the amazing thing about the church, is we get to produce those kind of community connections together. But for you guys on Barbarian Way, I know it's super intentional, and there's something so healthy for guys in that just like it does investigate and examine something in the heart and give people an opportunity to say what they maybe wouldn't say ordinarily because it's awkward or it's hard. But I think the world tells guys, well, you should know, or you should have it together,
Yeah.
or you should have the answers. What is something that you wish men knew that maybe does run counter to some of what they might be told by the world around them, or the culture that we're in? What's something that you wish more men were aware of?
I think that it's that we do need each other. And I think there's a lot about the kind of the narrative of men in the world, which is like, as you grow as a man, you become more independent from others and you don't need them anymore. And I think there's a huge amount of men who are quite lonely and they couldn't count on one hand the friends that they actually have that they could speak to in like a tough situation. And I think we all need that. And it's not only that you need that for someone that you need that because maybe you're going through something. I believe every man has the capacity to be a brother and be someone for someone else too. And so I think that one of the things I would encourage is like, it's not, you haven't reached the top. If it's like, now I don't have anyone but me and my family, I'd actually say that's a place of weakness, not strength. It's like, you need godly men in your life. And again, you say, oh yeah, I've got these friends that I meet up with, say on the golf course. And it's like, yeah, but you never have any real conversations. When was the last time they challenged you about something or encouraged you about something? And there can be this ongoing, jokes about like, what did you guys talk about? And it's like, we didn't really talk about anything. We just, shoot the breeze. And it's like, I don't think that we're going to live up to the potential that God has called us to if those are the nature of our relationships. And I'm not saying every conversation is deep and intense. One of my favorite times we had with my guys in my fire pit group last year, like we closed up the session, we kind of talked about some tough stuff. And then the guys started talking about basketball. I didn't have a clue what they were talking about for about 30 minutes. I was just watching them, but they were laughing, they were talking. I loved it. And it's like, it's not like, oh, now this is kind of more unholy or this isn't as good as what we were doing a minute ago. It's like, this is building a bond, it's building a relationship. I'm not saying it's all intense, but I'm saying if you never have the real conversations, you never have any moments of like the real reflection, real questions, asking questions, learning from one another, I think your life is going to lack something. So I'd say it's not a place of strength to be alone. I'd actually say it's a place of weakness. And I think we all need the power of like great godly relationships in our life.
I love that. I love the way that really what we're trying to do and celebrate in our church at the moment, yes, through the Barbarian Way, but honestly through the culture that we have week on week all the way through the year, is it's weaving together that spiritual hunger, physical discipline, community building, all of these things that are essential for great life, and placing them into a really easily accessible spot that people really can grow within once they enter. And it's exciting for me because we've got 4 kids, 3 of them are boys. We're raising sons in this world that, as we've said, doesn't always shine the best light on them or give them the most exciting vision of their future. And yet I think like the reality is God has so much for them.
Amen.
When they're firing, the whole family flourishes, the whole church grows. When guys are taking their right spot and moving forward with that kind of humility and hunger and passion for more, it really does affect everybody. So it's really exciting. I'm excited for it. Why don't you finish us off on one thing that you are probably most looking forward to seeing from this year of the Barbarian Way?
I think from this year, as I think about all the guys who are doing it with us for the first time, I'm just so excited for the transformation that they're going to experience as they lean in and they start to grow. And then what happens is there is a domino effect on their marriages. on their children, on the people that they're doing life with in their workplace, because they become more godly. It's almost like if you've got a light and it's like you've got this, like, I don't know, like little bulb, and it's like the dimmer switch is on. And then what happens on Barbarian Way is that you start to turn it up and it starts to brighten and it starts to shine in their lives. Which is like now what was kind of small and maybe to their own and their own like faith, it's now like shining brightly, and it's like shining where they are, shining, in their family, and it's the light of Christ coming out of them. And so that's one of the things I'm excited is the consequential impact, not just for the men, but what ripples out from them. Like we had guys last year read the scriptures for the first time where they read the whole New Testament. It completely changed the way they saw the Bible. It completely changed the way they felt about the Bible, because they'd always been into, I'm not a reader, I don't really understand it. And now they could say, I remember one of my guys sharing, like, I just read the Gospels, the full gospel, like so proud, so grateful. And I'm like, I love seeing that kind of confidence that grows in our guys as we walk them through this.
So good. If you're listening to this and you are a woman who has a man in your life that you care about, I want to just say, plug them into something that is championing them and speaking life over them, giving them opportunity to
Yeah.
grow and change. If there's a Freedom Church near you, if there's a program, if you're in Raleigh and you want to connect into Barbarian Way, like, come and hear more about it through the life of our church. And if you're a man listening to this and you're doing the Barbarian Way, please know that the women of our church are cheering you on, because we're super excited about all the
Yeah.
transformation that this
Thank you.
program holds. We've seen the fruit of it before. We know there's even more to come. And it's amazing. It's amazing. It's a gift to us as well as to you guys. So really excited for this year ahead for our guys and for the vision that's coming for them. And just pray that that is an encouragement to you wherever you're listening to this and whatever situation you're in. There is so much more ahead and people to run that race with you too. Okay. Well, it's been great to chat to you. Mine.
All right.
All right.
All right. I'll see you later. Thanks for joining us, everyone. All right. We'll see you soon.